In the 1950s, the Opel Kapitän was among the German automotive industry's best sellers. It offered executive-class comfort at an affordable price. That was Opel's concept and recipe for success, and it secured the Kapitän third place among Germany's new car registrations, after its little brother, the Opel Olympia Rekord and the VW Beetle. As car tester Christoph Bauer tells us, Opel's history goes all the way back to 1862 when Adam Opel founded a sewing machine and bicycle manufacturer. In 1899, he started turning out automobiles, which led to a burgeoning economic expansion. By the late 1920s, Opel had a market share of 44%, making it Germany's largest car maker. Then came the Great Depression, and in 1929, America's General Motors bought out Opel. But that didn't slow down its business success one bit.
Dem wirtschaftlichen Erfolg, dem tut das keinen Abbruch.
In the 1930s, Opel rolled upward and onward to become the biggest car maker in Europe, excelling with such technological innovations as the self-supporting unibody. Starting in 1938, following the Opel Olympia and the Cadet, the first Kapitän also made use of this modern design. The six-cylinder sedan continued almost unchanged right through the World War II until 1953. Then it was time to find a successor. Just as in the pre-war years, the Kapitän of the 1950s quickly secured its place as the best-selling German six-cylinder car. In 3 years of production, this version alone found exactly 92,555 buyers. Christoph points out that every square centimeter of this modern ponton styling reveals the influence of the American parent General Motors. Lots of chrome, lots of shine. At the time, an absolute must-have. That includes the wraparound panoramic windshield, the obligatory tail fins, and the often rather garish two-tone paint job. Compared to some of its peers, this model is fairly modest. Opel took on another trend from the United States. In just 6 years, from 1953 to 59, the factory rolled out 4 different Kapitän models. Not until the 1960s did Opel give up this rather cash-intensive trend for facelifts. This 1955 version of the Kapitän differs from its predecessor in the flattened hood, the oval grille, and the larger tail fins. And its successor sported a windshield that wrapped all the way around to the doors. Even more and shinier chrome and even bigger tail fins. An additional 900 Deutschmarks would buy a luxury version with separate front seats, an imitation leather dash, a makeup mirror, and lots of styling. Christoph points out the one constant with all the 1950s Kapitäns, a very quiet but very robust inline six-cylinder, 2.5-liter engine. It had powered the Opel Blitz, and it sucked in fuel and air through only one carburetor. That tended to limit performance. By 3,900 revs, it had already reached its maximum output, but it was the torque that gave the car its pickup, an impressive 170 Newton meters. That kicked in at just 1,700 revs and made for a very decent acceleration. The 3-speed transmission with a steering column-mounted gear shift was made for the shiftless driver and a very casual driving style. Fuel consumption averaged about 11.5 liters. Not at all bad for the time. In 1970, after long and dependable service, the Kapitän was retired with honors. From then on, the top of the range belonged to the Admiral and the Diplomat, while the up-and-coming Opel Commodore served the mid-range. Christoph concludes that for over 30 years, the Opel Kapitän served well and admirably. Nearly 500,000 were built. Before the war, it was a technological innovator that set new standards with its self-supporting all-steel body. In the 1950s, the new generation Kapitäns became darlings of the rising middle class and symbols of West Germany's economic miracle. As the best-selling six-cylinder of its time, the Opel Kapitän was doubtlessly a milestone of automotive history. In the 1980s, Opel gave up the Navy-based naming tradition for its Opel models, names like Cadet, Commodore, and Admiral, a tradition that had actually begun with the Opel Kapitän.